my 4 criteria for my villain theory. They're working on a plan for decades. The story that you're writing and the story that you tell is going to take place during the last step of that super long plan, or in a last ditch effort to save that plan. And then number 3, the villain can't go back, can't change their mind, fear of desperation. And number 4, they're going to be chasing the same thing as the protagonist, but for a different reason, which is how the protagonist will be in their way constantly. So now we're going to test. This is the part where, we had an example that worked, super scary villain. We created these rules that could be pish posh. Now we're going to test it and see if it applies. First test. Sauron, Lord of the Rings. The villain has been working on a plan for decades. Yes, Sauron created the rings to rule Middle-earth 5,000 years ago, so he obeys the decade rule. This story takes place during the last step of his decades-long plan or the last-ditch effort. Absolutely, Sauron is actually defeated, and he's trying to come back. He's like an eye floating above a tower for now. He barely has any, physical power. He just wants his ring back so he can be whole again. His plan is almost, ruined. He needs to do this. A villain can't go back or change their mind. That's right. He has nowhere else to go. Again, an eye on a tower. It's this, getting the ring back, or death for him. Number 4, they want the same thing as a protagonist for a different reason. Heck yeah, they want the ring. So I would say that Sauron obeys my 4 criteria for villain theory. So we have, he has been working on the plan for decades. He's in the last step or last ditch effort. So he's in his last ditch effort of his plan. He can't go back. He can't change his mind. He's very focused on this. And if you want the same thing as the protagonist, yes, they named the book after it. So no argument there. This guy, Lord Voldemort, has this villain been working on his plan for decades? Yes, he has. The First Wizarding War was before Harry Potter was born. So we made the mark of decades, just by a little bit, but it qualifies. This story takes place during the last step of that decades-long plan or the last-ditch effort. Yes. The beginning of the Harry Potter series, he is living as a parasite on one of his followers. Very similar to being an eye, honestly, on a tower. The villain can't go back or change his mind. That's right. He has actually sold most of his soul to gain magical power. And that gets into more of this world. But yeah, he doesn't really have another option. And then they want the same thing as a protagonist for a different reason. And is this how the protagonist gets in their way? Correct. In the very beginning, it's the Sorcerer's Stone. It keeps pursuing it to something bigger and bigger. But in the very beginning, yes, Sorcerer's Stone. Again, more jewelry if you guys want to go that way. So yes, the villain has been working on a plan for decades. The story takes place during the last-ditch effort. Can't go back, can't change his mind, and he does want the same thing as the protagonist.